In this video, I'm about to show you 25 items from McDonald's you should never order, and 10 you absolutely should. Starting with number 25, Big Breakfast with Hotcakes. Let's start with a monster, McDonald's Big Breakfast with Hotcakes. If you've ever wondered what a heart attack on a tray looks like, this might be it. On paper, it sounds like a classic diner spread. Scrambled eggs, a sausage patty, hash browns, a biscuit, and 3 pancakes with syrup and butter. But stack up the numbers, and it turns into one of the most shocking items on the entire menu. We're talking about 1,334 calories in one sitting. That's more than half of what the average adult should eat in a whole day. Add in 24 grams of saturated fat. That's the kind of fat linked directly to clogged arteries. The cholesterol count? A whopping 525 milligrams, which is nearly twice the American Heart Association's recommended daily limit. And the sodium? Over 2,000 milligrams, almost an entire day's worth of salt before you've even left breakfast. But it's not just the numbers. This is the kind of meal that leaves you sluggish, bloated, and reaching for another cup of coffee to survive the food coma. Think about it. You could eat a balanced, home-cooked breakfast and a reasonable lunch for the same nutritional damage as this one tray. Number 24. Big Breakfast Alone. You'd think skipping the pancakes would save you, right? If the Big Breakfast with Hotcakes is the nuclear option, then the regular Big Breakfast is supposed to be the lighter choice. But don't let the missing stack of flapjacks fool you. This tray is still loaded down like a freight train. Here's what you're getting. Scrambled eggs, a sausage patty, a hash brown, and that infamous McDonald's biscuit. It looks simple enough, but nutritionally, it's a heavyweight. Around 760 calories hit your system before you've even thought about a coffee. That's the same ballpark as a full sit-down dinner at a casual restaurant, except you're eating it at 8 a.m. Then there's the sodium, which lands close to 1,500 milligrams, basically wiping out your recommended daily intake before lunch. The saturated fat clocks in at over 13 grams, enough to put you well on your way to maxing out for the day. And that sausage patty? It's the main culprit. Packing processed meat, preservatives, and plenty of hidden salt. The worst part is the illusion of choice. McDonald's wants you to feel like you made the healthier move by ditching the hotcakes. In reality, you've only trimmed calories from catastrophic down to merely disastrous. Number 23. McGriddles. Now, the sausage, egg, and cheese McGriddles looks innocent at first glance. Sweet little pancake buns with a sausage patty, a folded egg, and a slice of cheese. McDonald's wants you to think it's the best of breakfast and brunch rolled into one. But nutritionally, this thing is a wolf in syrup-soaked sheep's clothing. One sandwich packs in about 550 calories, which doesn't sound catastrophic until you realize most people don't stop at just one. Add a hash brown and a coffee with cream and sugar, and suddenly your grab-and-go breakfast is pushing 1,000 calories. The sodium is the real backbreaker here, 1,300 milligrams, which is over half the daily recommended limit by the American Heart Association. And don't forget the saturated fat, around 12 grams in a single sandwich. That's the kind of fat that drives up your LDL cholesterol and clogs arteries over time. Even the griddle cakes, which seem playful with that maple flavor, are essentially sugar-laced breading designed to disguise how greasy the sausage is. It's the kind of sandwich that hits you with a quick rush of salt, sugar, and fat, then leaves you crashing hard by mid-morning. Bottom line being, the sausage, egg, and cheese McGriddles is a perfect example of McDonald's engineering food to taste addictive, while secretly hammering your heart health with sodium and fat. Number 22. Sausage McMuffin with Egg. The Sausage McMuffin with Egg has been around forever, and for good reason. It is cheap, it is quick, and it is everywhere. But let's be real, this thing is no innocent little breakfast sandwich. You are looking at about 480 calories before you even think about adding a hash brown or a coffee. That may not seem insane on its own, but nearly 1,000 milligrams of sodium is tucked into that small wrapper. That is close to half of what you should have for the entire day, hidden inside something that disappears in 6 or 7 bites. The sausage patty is where most of the trouble starts. It is loaded with saturated fat, preservatives, and enough salt to make you thirsty for hours. Pair that with processed cheese and a buttered English muffin, and you are stacking up fat and sodium with almost no fiber to balance it out. What makes it tricky is the illusion of portion size. Because it is small, you think it is harmless, so a lot of people grab 2 or pair it with sides. At that point, you are suddenly eating the equivalent of a sit-down dinner before the morning commute. The sausage McMuffin with egg might be compact, but it punches far above its weight in calories and sodium. Number 21. Double Quarter Pounder with cheese. The double quarter pounder with cheese is the definition of going overboard at McDonald's. You are basically looking at half a pound of beef stacked with 2 slices of cheese, onions, pickles, ketchup, and a sesame bun. It feels like the kind of order you make when you want to prove something, but what you are really proving is how much sodium your body can take before waving a white flag. One of these monsters sits at around 740 calories, which is not the worst thing in the world if you split it with a friend. But who does that? Actually, I did that once with a buddy, but I digress. The real shock comes with the saturated fat, about 20 grams, which is basically your whole day's worth in one sandwich. And then the sodium, more than 1,300 milligrams, so you are halfway to the daily limit before you even touch fries or a drink. Bite into it, and sure, it is juicy, salty, cheesy, and feels indulgent, but that indulgence is doing more damage than you might want to admit. It is heavy in every sense of the word. This is not just lunch, it is a full-body workout for your arteries. Number 20. Hash browns. McDonald's hash browns look harmless. A little golden rectangle, crispy on the outside, soft in the middle, perfect for dipping in ketchup while you sip your coffee. But that little pouch is one of the sneakiest calorie bombs on the breakfast menu. One order packs about 150 calories and 9 grams of fat, and since it is deep fried in oil, you are getting mostly empty calories. The bigger problem is the sodium load. At around 320 milligrams per patty, you are stacking up salt for no real reason. If you grab 2, or pair it with a breakfast sandwich like most people do, you are suddenly looking at over 500 milligrams of sodium just from fried potato filler. The illusion is what makes these dangerous. They are marketed as a side, a little add-on, something you throw in almost without thinking. But in terms of nutrition, it is like ordering a plate of French fries for breakfast and pretending it is normal. You would not sit down at 7 a.m. with a basket of fries, yet that is exactly what you are doing when you add a hash brown or 2 to your order. It is quick, it is tasty, but it turns your breakfast into a sodium-spiked fried starch overload before the day even starts. Number 19. M&M McFlurry. The M&M's McFlurry is one of those menu items that tricks you into thinking it is just a little treat. Ice cream with some candy mixed in. How bad can it be? The truth is, this cup of sweetness is one of the most deceptive sugar bombs McDonald's has ever put out. A regular-size McFlurry runs at about 630 calories, which is almost the same as a Big Mac. You are not just eating dessert, you are eating the caloric equivalent of an entire meal in a paper cup. And the sugar. That is the kicker. One M&M's McFlurry carries around 85 grams of sugar, which is more than 3 times the daily limit recommended by the American Heart Association. That means in less than 10 minutes, you can exceed what you should be eating in an entire day. The M and Ms themselves add extra fat and more sugar on top of the soft serve, and the ice cream base is already heavy in corn syrup and artificial stabilizers. It tastes smooth and fun, but what your body gets is a blood sugar spike, followed by a crash that leaves you hungrier than before. It looks like a dessert, but nutritionally, it is closer to a dare. Number 18. Large fries. McDonald's large fries are legendary. They are the reason people pull into the drive-thru just for a snack and end up leaving with a bag of food. Everyone knows that red carton, it is practically a symbol of fast food itself. But here is the reality. This little side dish is basically a meal in disguise. One order packs about 510 calories, which is almost identical to a quarter pounder with cheese. Except here, you are getting nothing but fried potato strips and oil. No protein, no fiber, nothing to keep you full. You eat them, you enjoy them, and then an hour later you are hungry again. That is how they hook you. And let's not ignore the sodium hit, around 330 milligrams per box. That does not sound outrageous until you remember nobody eats fries by themselves. Add in a burger and a soda, and suddenly you are walking around with more salt in your system than a bag of pretzels. The genius, and the danger, is how addictive they are. Perfect crisp, perfect salt, engineered so that you never stop until the box is empty. They melt in your mouth so fast you trick yourself into thinking you barely ate anything, when in reality you just downed half a meal's worth of calories without even blinking. Number 17. Large sweet tea. The large sweet tea at McDonald's looks so innocent. It is tea, right? So it must be better than soda. That is what they want you to believe. In reality, this cup is basically liquid candy dressed up as a Southern classic. A single large sweet tea runs about 280 to 300 calories, and here is the kicker. You are looking at nearly 70 grams of sugar. That is the equivalent of scooping 16 or 17 packets of sugar straight into your drink. For context, the American Heart Association says men should stick to 36 grams per day and women to 25 grams. This tea smashes that limit in one shot. And because it is liquid sugar, it hits your system fast. Your blood sugar spikes, you get that temporary burst of energy, and then the crash sets in. You feel sluggish, you get hungrier, and most people reach for more food to balance it out. It is a vicious cycle wrapped up in what looks like an innocent cup of iced tea. The trick is in the branding. Sweet tea sounds homemade, refreshing, even a little classy. But McDonald's version is no different from a soda, maybe worse, because people trick themselves into ordering it thinking they made a smart swap. Number 16. 20-piece chicken nuggets. The 20-piece chicken McNuggets box is a classic move when you are with friends, or honestly, when you are just really hungry and lying to yourself that you will save a few for later. Spoiler alert, you will not. You will eat the whole thing, and by the time you finish, you have basically inhaled a calorie bomb that was designed to go down easy. This box clocks in at around 830 to 950 calories before you even dip a single nugget. Add ranch or barbecue sauce, and suddenly, you are pushing 1,000 calories without touching fries or a drink. The fat count lands in the 50-gram range, with about a quarter of that being saturated fat. That is an artery workout right there. And the sodium? About 1,600 milligrams for the box. That is close to 3/4 of your recommended daily max, all inside what McDonald's markets as shareable. Shareable, sure, but most of the time these nuggets are demolished by one person on autopilot. What makes them sneaky is that they feel lighter than a burger, bite-sized, crispy fun. But the truth is, you are just eating fried chicken paste shaped into bite-sized salt bombs, one after another, until you are left with an empty box and a full regret. Number 15. The Double Big Mac. The Double Big Mac is McDonald's saying, "Oh, the regular Big Mac did not nearly kill you? Let's double it." 4 patties, 3 buns, cheese, lettuce, pickles, onions, and that mystery special sauce that is basically Thousand Island dressing in witness protection. This thing is less of a sandwich and more of an architectural project. We are talking 780 calories in one go with 48 grams of fat. That is not lunch, that is a deposit into your future heart surgery fund. And the sodium, about almost 1,400 milligrams, which is half your daily max before you even crack open the fries. Add a soda and a large fry, and congratulations, you just ate 2 days worth of salt in 20 minutes. But the real kicker is how ridiculous it looks. Nobody is walking around with a double Big Mac looking classy. You look like you lost a bet. Halfway through, the sauce is everywhere, the lettuce is in your lap, and you are realizing the only thing this burger is doubling is your regret. It is the kind of order that sounds fun in theory, but in practice, you are just wrestling a meat tower that your body never asked for. Number 14. The Large Strawberry Banana Smoothie. The large strawberry banana smoothie is one of the biggest scams on the McDonald's menu. You see the word smoothie and your brain goes, "Oh nice, fruit, healthy, maybe even a good alternative to soda." Nope. This thing is basically a sugar trap hiding behind a couple of strawberries and half a banana. A large one comes in at 330 calories, which is already more than a cheeseburger. But here is the shocker. You are looking at about 68 grams of sugar. That is not fruit sugar, that is mostly added sugar and juice concentrate blasted into a blender. To put it in perspective, the American Heart Association says guys should stick to 36 grams a day, women should stick to 25 grams. This smoothie blows past both limits in one sitting, and it does it with a smile. And let's be real, there is nothing filling about it. You drink it, it is gone in 5 minutes, and all you are left with is a sugar spike that crashes harder than a college kid after finals week. It has the branding of a health drink, but the nutrition profile of a melted popsicle. At the end of the day, calling this thing a smoothie is just McDonald's way of convincing you to drink a candy bar through a straw. Number 13. Large Caramel Frappe. The large caramel frappe is McDonald's way of saying you did not want breakfast. You wanted dessert for breakfast. It looks like coffee, it is served like coffee, but nutritionally it is a milkshake that just happens to have a shot of caffeine hiding in there. A large cup runs you about 670 calories. That is almost the same as a double cheeseburger and fries combined. And the sugar, this is where things go completely off the rails. You are staring down 84 grams of sugar in one drink. That is more sugar than 3 Snickers bars, and yes, people order this at 8 a.m. on their way to work. The American Heart Association's daily sugar limit, this drink nearly triples it in one hit. Then there is the fat, around 24 grams, with nearly half being saturated fat. Top it with whipped cream and caramel drizzle, and you have a dessert that would make Willy Wonka raise an eyebrow. Yet it is sitting on the McCafe menu like it belongs next to a black coffee. The trap is that people think they are just grabbing a coffee. But what you are really drinking is a liquid candy bar disguised in a dome lid, guaranteed to send your blood sugar skyrocketing before the workday even starts. Number 12. The Spicy McCrispy. The Spicy McCrispy sounds like it should be a fun little upgrade from the regular chicken sandwich. A little heat, a little crunch, nothing too crazy. But peel back the wrapper and what you are really looking at is a salt bomb in a bun. This sandwich lands at about 530 calories, which is not terrible if it were filling. But it is not. It is fried chicken breast coated in oil, slathered with spicy sauce and tucked between a buttered bun. By the time you are done, you are left with grease on your fingers and still hungry an hour later. The sodium count is the part that makes you do a double take. More than 1,300 milligrams for one sandwich, which is more than half the daily limit recommended by the American Heart Association. And that is without fries, without a drink, without dipping sauce. Pair it like most people do, and you have officially gone into salt overload before the clock hits noon. Sure, the spice gives it a kick, but the real kick is what it does to your blood pressure. It is marketed like a bold choice, but nutritionally it is the same old McDonald's trick, dressing up deep-fried chicken with a fancy name and letting the salt and fat do all the talking. Number 11. Large Coca-Cola. McDonald's large Coca-Cola is legendary for tasting better than Coke anywhere else, thanks to how they chill and filter their syrup lines. But let's not kid ourselves, this is not magic, this is straight up sugar water with a fast food halo around it. One large Coke at McDonald's lands between 290 and 380 calories, depending on how generous the pour is. That is almost the same as eating a cheeseburger, except you are drinking it. The real jaw dropper is the sugar. A single large cup has around 75 to 90 grams of sugar. That is about 18 to 20 teaspoons dumped right into your bloodstream. For context, the American Heart Association says you should stay under 36 grams for men and 25 grams for women in a whole day. This one drink doubles or triples that in 15 minutes. And because it is liquid sugar, your body does not even process it like food. There is no chewing, no fiber, no pause button. It spikes your blood sugar so fast it is like flipping a light switch, and then it drops you just as quickly. That Coke tastes better at McDonald's magic? It is just a carefully engineered sugar rush that leaves you craving even more food. Order one of these with fries and a burger, and you are basically mainlining dessert with your lunch. Number 10. Large McCafe Mocha. The large McCafe Mocha is the kind of drink that makes you feel fancy walking out of the drive-thru. It looks like a harmless coffee upgrade, a little chocolate, a little whipped cream, nothing too crazy. But nutritionally, this thing is a sugar-loaded dessert pretending to be a morning pick-me-up. A large mocha hits around 500 calories, which is more than a filet-o-fish sandwich. Except here, there is no protein, no fiber, nothing that actually keeps you full. What you do get is about 60 grams of sugar in a single cup. That is like unwrapping and eating 2 full-sized candy bars before breakfast and calling it coffee. For perspective, the American Heart Association says men should stick to 36 grams of sugar a day, women should keep it at 25. This one drink alone nearly triples that. And the fat content is no joke either, with about 17 grams of fat, half of it saturated. Add in the whipped cream and drizzle, and you are basically sipping on melted ice cream with a splash of espresso. People grab a mocha thinking they are just upgrading their morning coffee. But the truth is, this drink is more like a dessert that just happens to buzz you awake. You are not starting your day with coffee, you are starting it with a candy bar in a cup. Number 9. Cinnamon roll. McDonald's cinnamon roll looks like comfort food on a tray. Big, fluffy layers of dough, swirled with cinnamon and smothered in sticky icing. It feels warm, cozy, almost homemade. But nutritionally, this thing is a sugar-coated ambush. One cinnamon roll clocks in at about 540 calories, which is more than a quarter pounder with cheese, and that is before you even consider how fast you will eat it. The sugar? Around 46 grams in a single roll. That is nearly twice the daily limit for women and well over the safe zone for men. Imagine spooning 12 teaspoons of sugar into your mouth at breakfast and pretending it is okay because there is cinnamon on top. Then you have the fat, about 27 grams total, with over 13 grams of saturated fat. That is half your daily allowance of the stuff that clogs arteries, all packed into one frosted pastry. And let's not forget the sodium, sneaking up at about 450 milligrams. What makes it worse is the timing. People order these in the morning, when your body is already craving fuel. Instead of something balanced, you are basically giving your system a sugar roller coaster. You get a rush, then you crash, and by mid-morning you are already hungry again. It is not breakfast, it is dessert disguised as one. Number 8. The Triple Cheeseburger. The Triple Cheeseburger is McDonald's way of saying, you know what, go ahead, throw self-control right out the window. 3 patties, 2 slices of cheese, pickles, onions, ketchup, mustard, all crammed into a sad little bun that looks like it is holding on for dear life. This thing packs about 520 calories, but here is the real kicker, 1,100 milligrams of sodium. That is over half your daily limit in a sandwich you can inhale in under 5 minutes. And the fat being 27 grams total, 13 grams saturated. That is the kind of fat that sends your cholesterol on a rocket ship to the moon. The wild part is how deceptively small it feels. It is not towering like a Big Mac. It is compact, manageable, almost cute. That is the trap. People look at it and think, I'll grab 2. Suddenly, you are sitting there with over 1,000 calories, enough salt to make you feel like a cured ham, and you are still reaching for fries. The Triple Cheeseburger is not a meal, it is a challenge. And the only prize you get for finishing it is regret, and the kind of thirst that has you pounding water like you just crossed a desert. Number 7. Apple Fritter. The apple fritter is one of those McDonald's bakery items that tricks you into thinking it is a sweet little snack. A little apple, a little cinnamon, sounds harmless, right? But take one look at the nutrition and this thing is less bakery treat and more sugar-coated regret. One fritter comes in at about 510 calories, which is basically a quarter pounder disguised as dessert. And the sugar, a solid 29 grams, which is like spooning 7 teaspoons straight into your mouth before 10 a.m. People order this with a coffee, thinking they are doing something light, when really they are knocking back half their sugar allowance for the day before lunch. The fat content does not help either. Around 25 grams of fat, with about 13 grams saturated, the kind your arteries really hate. Pair that with nearly 450 milligrams of sodium, and you are not eating a pastry, you are eating a fast food trap dressed up with a cinnamon swirl. The worst part is how heavy it feels. You get that first bite of crispy glaze and soft dough, it is good for a moment, but halfway through it starts sitting in your stomach like a brick. It is not a snack, it is a sugar bomb that hits you fast, then leaves you sluggish and craving more junk. Number 6. Bacon Double Quarter Pounder with Cheese. The Bacon Double Quarter Pounder with Cheese is not just food, it is a full commitment. You do not casually grab one of these. This is the kind of burger you order when you are hungry, angry, or both. It lands in your hands heavy, hot, and already dripping with grease before the first bite. The first mouthful hits you with everything at once. The salt from the bacon, the grease from the patties, the tang of the pickles. It feels satisfying in the moment, like you are eating something powerful. But halfway through, reality sets in. The bun is soggy, the bacon has gone rubbery, and you are realizing you still have an entire second half to fight through. Then comes the aftermath. You are not bouncing back from this burger. You are not going back to work energized or heading to the gym. You are finding the nearest couch and wondering why your stomach feels like a lead weight. With 820 calories, 45 grams of fat, and nearly 1,500 milligrams of sodium, your body is basically waving a white flag. It is marketed as an upgrade, but eating it feels more like a dare you should not have taken. Number 5. Large chocolate shake. The large chocolate shake at McDonald's is the ultimate example of just because you can doesn't mean you should. It shows up on the menu like an innocent treat. But order one of these and you are basically signing up for dessert that could feed 3 people. This cup of chocolatey chaos comes in at about 840 calories. That is more than a Big Mac and a small fry combined. And then there is the sugar. We are talking over 120 grams of sugar in a single drink. That is not a sweet tooth, that is a sugar overdose. Imagine ripping open 30 packets of sugar and dumping them into a blender. That is the ballpark of what you are drinking. But that does not exactly make it any friendlier. Around 22 grams of fat, with roughly 14 grams saturated, so your arteries are not thanking you either. And the kicker is, it is liquid. You can sip it down in under 10 minutes, and it will not even fill you up like a meal. People see shake and think diner nostalgia. What they are really getting is a calorie bomb that turns into a sugar crash before they even throw away the cup. This is not a treat, it is a straight-up gut punch with whipped cream on top. Number 4. The McDouble Meal Deal. The McDouble Meal Deal sounds like a bargain on paper. A burger, nuggets, fries, and a drink, all for $5 or $6 depending on where you live. It feels like you are beating the system, like you just hacked McDonald's for maximum value. But the only thing you are really hacking is your own health. Add it up. A McDouble, a small fry, a small Coke, and 4 nuggets. That combo lands at roughly 990 calories before you even touch dipping sauce. Throw in a little ranch or sweet and sour, and you are sailing well over 1,100. And the sodium? Nearly 2,000 milligrams in a single deal, which is basically your daily limit in one sitting. That is not a discount. That is a full day's worth of salt sold at clearance prices. The trick is the psychology. Bundling it all together makes you feel like you are saving money, but nutritionally it is a scam. You are paying a few dollars less, but racking up a full day's worth of calories and sugar before the afternoon. It is called a value meal, but the value here is only for McDonald's, because you will be back craving more once that sugar and salt crash hits. Number 3. Large Shamrock Shake. The Large Shamrock Shake is McDonald's seasonal trap. It shows up every March with that bright green glow, promising a little minty fun for St. Patrick's Day. People rush to it for nostalgia, for the limited time only hype. But what they are really drinking is a sugar avalanche disguised as a milkshake. A large Shamrock Shake packs around 820 calories. That is the same as a Big Mac with fries, except here you are getting it in liquid form. And the sugar is off the charts, more than 110 grams of sugar in a single cup. That is basically 28 packets of sugar blended into a mint-flavored drink. The American Heart Association daily limit is 36 grams for men and 25 grams for women. This shake laughs at those numbers. Then there is the fat, about 22 grams total, with nearly half of that saturated. Add the whipped cream on top, and you are basically spoon-feeding your arteries a dessert they never asked for. The crazy part is how fast it goes down. You could polish this off in under 10 minutes, but your body will be dealing with the sugar crash for hours. It is festive, it is fun, but nutritionally, it is the kind of holiday tradition that your heart would rather skip. Number 2. Large McCafe Chocolate Chip Frappe. The Large McCafe Chocolate Chip Frappe is one of those menu items that comes and goes. Like a bad ex you know you should not text back. It may not be on the menu everywhere right now, but history shows McDonald's loves to bring it back under a shiny new promo name, and every time it returns, people line up like they forgot what it did to them last time. When it was available, the large size landed at 670 calories. That is not a drink. That is a full fast food meal you are slurping through a straw. Then you have the fat, over 27 grams, with more than half of that saturated. So even before you get to the sugar, your arteries are already doing double shifts. And the sugar? We're talking 88 grams in one cup, which is like dumping 4 donuts into a blender and calling it coffee. The chocolate chips, the syrup, the whipped cream, every layer is designed to make your brain happy while your body silently screams for help. The danger is in the disguise. It is marketed like a coffee, but nutritionally, it is dessert with a caffeine side hustle. If it makes a comeback, remember, the only thing this drink energizes is your future regret. Number 1. Bacon, egg, and cheese bagel. The bacon, egg, and cheese bagel was my daily routine for a long time. Every morning almost, my favorite breakfast item, the sandwich looks like it should be an upgrade from the usual McMuffin. A toasted bagel, thick bacon, melted cheese, fluffy egg, and that creamy breakfast sauce. It feels like McDonald's trying to step into deli territory. But the numbers on this thing are brutal. One sandwich stacks up to about 590 calories. That is nearly the same as a Big Mac, except here you are, eating it at 7 in the morning. The fat sits around 29 grams, with 11 grams saturated, meaning half your day's allowance of the stuff that clogs arteries is gone before the first coffee sip. The sodium is even worse, coming in at about 1,1260 milligrams. That is more than half the daily limit, tucked into a single breakfast sandwich. And the bagel? That is where the hidden damage is. You are looking at more than 50 grams of refined carbs that hit your bloodstream like a sugar rush, leaving you groggy and hungrier sooner than you'd expect. Add a hash brown and a latte, and suddenly breakfast feels like you ate a truckload of salt, fat, and sugar all before 9 a.m. And believe me, I would know. But hey, let me remind you, not all is avoidance in the Golden Arches, because here are 10 items that do you more good than bad, starting with number 10, the hamburger. Sometimes simple really is better, and the plain old hamburger at McDonald's proves it. No gimmicks, no stacks of patties, no bacon avalanche, just one beef patty, a bun, pickles, onions, ketchup, and mustard. It is the most boring thing on the menu, and that is exactly why it is one of the best choices you can make here. Nutritionally, this is McDonald's version of portion control. A single hamburger sits at around 250 calories with 9 grams of fat and a little over 500 milligrams of sodium. Compare that to the double quarter pounder with cheese, which explodes past 740 calories and more than 1,300 milligrams of sodium, and suddenly the humble hamburger looks like a saint. It also has 12 grams of protein, which is not bad for something that disappears in 6 or 7 bites. Because it is small, it forces you to stop at 1 instead of mindlessly stacking on hundreds of extra calories. And unlike a milkshake or a McFlurry, this actually gives you protein that helps you stay satisfied longer. The beauty of the hamburger is in its flexibility. Pair it with apple slices instead of fries, or a black coffee instead of a Coke, and you walk away with a meal that actually fits into a normal day without wrecking your diet. It is proof that sometimes the smartest order at McDonald's is not the one with the biggest photo on the menu board, it is the little guy hiding in plain sight. Number 9. 6-piece nuggets. McDonald's Chicken McNuggets have been a guilty pleasure for decades, and let's be real. Most of the time, people go straight for the 10-piece or the 20-piece box. That's where the damage piles up. But the 6-piece order is actually one of the smarter plays you can make on the menu. A 6-piece serving comes in at about 250 calories, with 15 grams of protein and around 15 grams of fat. The sodium sits at about 500 milligrams, which is not nothing, but compared to the 20 pieces salt explosion, this looks tame. You still get that crispy fried coating and the tender chicken inside, but without blowing through half your day's intake in one go. The beauty of the 6-piece is portion control. It scratches the craving for nuggets, gives you a little protein boost, and keeps the calories from ballooning. Pair it with apple slices and a water or unsweetened iced tea, and suddenly you have a meal that tastes like fast food but fits into a normal day's nutrition. Even with a small fry, you're still sitting under the calorie count of a big breakfast with hotcakes. And unlike a burger loaded with cheese, bacon, and sauces, nuggets let you keep things simple. You control the dips, you control the extras. Go easy on the ranch or barbecue sauce, and this becomes one of the least damaging fast food indulgences you can get away with. Number 8. Egg McMuffin. The Egg McMuffin might be the only McDonald's item that nutrition experts will sometimes nod at with approval. It is the original fast food breakfast sandwich, and unlike most of the menu, it actually has a halfway respectable balance of ingredients. You get a toasted English muffin, a slice of Canadian bacon, real egg and American cheese. That's it. Simple, not buried in sauces or stacked with 2 pounds of meat. The numbers tell the story. An Egg McMuffin runs about 310 calories, with 17 grams of protein to actually keep you full. Fat is reasonable at 13 grams, and sodium is around 770 milligrams. Not perfect, but far better than the sodium grenades McDonald's usually serves for breakfast. The Canadian bacon is leaner than sausage or regular bacon, which keeps the fat lower while still giving you that salty, smoky bite. And unlike biscuits or bagels that weigh you down with refined carbs, the English muffin feels lighter. You eat it, you feel satisfied, and you are not instantly planning your next nap. People forget this sandwich was introduced back in the 1970s, before supersizing became a way of life. It was built to be a quick filling breakfast, not a calorie bomb, and it still does that job today. If you are hitting McDonald's in the morning and want something that does not wreck your whole day, the Egg McMuffin is one of the few choices that lets you walk away guilt-free. Number 7. Oatmeal. When you think of McDonald's breakfast, you picture grease, sausage, and cheese dripping off a biscuit. That is why the fruit and maple oatmeal almost feels like it snuck onto the menu by mistake. It is warm, it is filling, and compared to most of what you find here, it is practically a health retreat in a paper cup. One serving runs about 320 calories, which is shockingly tame for a McDonald's breakfast. Fat stays low at around 4.5 grams, with only 1.5 grams of that saturated. The real win is in the carbs. You are getting about 64 grams, but unlike a biscuit or a stack of hotcakes, this comes with 4 grams of fiber and 6 grams of protein to keep you going. There is also a hit of fruit, diced apples, cranberries, and raisins, which is about as close to fresh produce as most people get at McDonald's. And here's the kicker. The sodium sits at only 150 milligrams. Compare that to the Egg McMuffin 770 or McGriddle's 1200, and you see just how much lighter this really is. Sure, it is a little sweet. The maple is more brown sugar syrup than actual maple. But if you are grabbing breakfast on the go, this is the rare McDonald's item that actually gives your body something useful without burying you under salt and fat. Number 6. Apple slices. McDonald's apple slices are the ultimate oddball. You walk into a place famous for fries dripping in salt and oil, and then you see this little bag of pre-cut apples tucked on the menu like, "Hey, remember fruit exists?" It almost feels like an inside joke, but if you actually want to make a decent choice here, this is it. Each bag clocks in at a microscopic 15 calories. That's basically nothing. You could eat 4 bags of these and still not hit the calories in a single hash brown. There's no fat, barely any sodium, and you actually get a little fiber and vitamin C. At McDonald's, that practically makes this a superfood. The real magic of apple slices is not what they add, but what they replace. Grab them instead of fries, and you just saved yourself 500 calories and a flood of grease. Give them to your kid instead of cookies, and suddenly you're parenting like a champ. Even as an adult, swapping them in makes you feel like you pulled a fast one on the menu. You get something sweet without the crash. Are they glamorous? Absolutely not. They come in a plastic bag, they're a little sad looking, and nobody is Instagramming them. But in a land of burgers and shakes, those plain apple slices are the one tiny moment of sanity. Number 5. Side salad. The side salad is probably the most ignored item on McDonald's menu. It doesn't have its own commercials, nobody's daydreaming about it at 2 a.m., and you've definitely never seen someone brag on Instagram about their McDonald's salad haul. But you know what? That's exactly why it's a hidden gem. This little bowl is basically the rebel of the menu. It's the one thing that isn't fried, sugar-coated, or dripping in cheese. Just lettuce, tomatoes, maybe some shredded carrots, and not much else. Boring? Sure. But at 20 calories, it's like the menu is quietly giving you a get-out-of-jail-free card. Think about it. When everyone else is tossing back fries like confetti, you pull out a salad. Suddenly, you're the one person at the table not about to feel like they swallowed a brick. And if you actually swap the fries for it, you just saved yourself half a day's calories. That's not a side, that's a power move. The truth is, the side salad isn't here to impress you. It's here to balance out the chaos. Order it with a burger and you don't feel like a total disaster. Add it to nuggets and you can at least pretend you're making good choices. It's not sexy, it's not exciting, but in McDonald's world, this sad little plastic bowl is the closest thing to redemption you'll find. Number 4. The Premium Grilled Chicken Sandwich. The Premium Grilled Chicken Sandwich is McDonald's attempt at playing it straight. No deep fryer, no triple stack of beef, just a grilled chicken breast, lettuce, tomato, and a bun. Compared to most of the menu, it almost feels civilized. Calorie-wise, this sandwich sits at about 360 calories, which is less than half of what you get from a bacon double quarter pounder. The fat stays at a modest 6 grams, with only 1.5 grams of that saturated. Protein, though, is solid, about 32 grams, making it one of the best protein-to-calorie ratios McDonald's has to offer. And while the sodium is still high at 820 milligrams, that is significantly lower than the fried versions like the Spicy McCrispy, which can blast you with over 1,300 milligrams in one sandwich. What makes this one stand out is how it actually leaves you feeling. Instead of the heavy, greasy slump you get from burgers or fried chicken, the grilled version feels lighter. You eat it, you move on with your day. It is not exciting, it is not indulgent, but it does the job without wrecking your diet in one sitting. Is it the sexiest option on the menu? Not at all. But if you are serious about eating fast food without tanking your health, the premium grilled chicken sandwich is one of the rare choices at McDonald's that you can order with your head held high. Number 3. Filet-O-Fish. The Filet-O-Fish is one of McDonald's most divisive menu items. People either swear by it or swear it off. And normally the default version is a greasy little trap, fried fish patty, tartar sauce, and a slice of American cheese that somehow always feels like an afterthought. But order it without the cheese and with light tartar sauce, and suddenly it transforms into one of the more reasonable choices at McDonald's. With those tweaks, you are looking at around 340 calories instead of 390. Fat drops closer to 14 grams, with about 3.5 grams saturated, and the sodium sits around 530 milligrams. That is still a chunk of salt, but it is half of what you would find in a quarter-pounder deluxe. Protein comes in at 16 grams, which is solid for such a small sandwich. The fried fish patty does mean you are still eating something from the fryer, but compared to beef and bacon-laden sandwiches, it is lighter, and cutting out the cheese and excess tartar takes away a lot of the empty fat. It is not perfect, but it is proof that sometimes smart ordering is about the little adjustments. The Filet-O-Fish will never win beauty contests, but it is one of the few McDonald's sandwiches you can modify into a meal that feels filling without sending you into an afternoon salt coma. Number 2. Black coffee. Ordering a black coffee at McDonald's feels almost rebellious. While everyone else is walking out with milkshakes disguised as frappes, you are the one keeping it real. No whipped cream, no caramel drizzle, no candy bar melted into your cup, just straight, hot coffee the way it was meant to be. Here's the beauty of it. 0 calories. That is right, nothing. No fat, no sugar crash, no hidden sodium waiting to smack you later. It is the only thing on the McDonald's menu you can drink freely without having to do math in your head about how much damage you are doing. And let's talk about the trade-off. Swap a large caramel frappe for a black coffee, and you just saved 670 calories and 84 grams of sugar. That is like dodging 3 candy bars in one move. Order it instead of a Coke, and you are cutting out nearly 300 empty calories. Same caffeine buzz, none of the baggage. The best part is, McDonald's coffee is not bad. In fact, it has a bit of a cult following because it is cheap, strong, and consistently better than people expect. You get the same wake-up kick without walking out of there with dessert disguised as breakfast. In a place built on salt, fat, and sugar, black coffee is the rare item that actually does your body a favor. It is the unsung hero of the McDonald's menu, plain, bold, and smarter than it looks. Number 1. Unsweetened iced tea. If McDonald's drinks were a family, the sodas and frappes would be the loud, chaotic cousins that never know when to stop. The unsweetened iced tea is the quiet one in the corner. Calm, refreshing, and actually good for you. On paper, it sounds boring, but think about it. A large Coke dumps 75 to 90 grams of sugar into your system, and the sweet tea isn't any better with nearly 70 grams. The unsweetened iced tea, though? 0 calories, 0 sugar, 0 fat. It is the rare McDonald's drink that hydrates you without hijacking your diet. And the best part is, you still get that satisfying cold drink with your meal. It has flavor, it is crisp, and it washes down a burger without leaving you buzzing like a soda or crashing like a frappe. It is the drink that lets you enjoy your food without doubling the damage. There is also something kind of bold about ordering it. While everyone else is grabbing sodas the size of a small aquarium, You roll up and keep it simple. It is like saying, "Yeah, I came to McDonald's, but I'm not here to destroy myself today." Unsweetened iced tea may not be flashy, but it is proof that sometimes the smartest choice is the one nobody brags about. Quiet, refreshing, and guilt-free, exactly what the rest of the menu isn't.